All right, we are back. Chris Mannix, Sergio Mora, he's the fighter. I'm the writer. On this episode, we are going to discuss yet another bad update in the Boots Ennis, Vergil Ortiz saga, which does not look like it is going to have a good ending. The Ryan Garcia, Mario Barrios negotiations, that had a good ending. We're going to talk about that. Brian Norman Jr., not a great ending with his dad, at least not for the short term. Norman Jr. firing his father as his trainer. And the fight that you were going to see on DAZN on Friday night, Alexis Rocha, Raul Curiel, part 2 up in Palm Desert. We're going to get into who has the upper hand in that rematch. And Sergio, I know you are just ecstatic to be out of the house and up in Palm Desert and back to work.
Of course I am. And now that you're a father, you're going to be ecstatic leaving on the weekends too. I mean, look, we got a loaded schedule. We're going from Palm Springs. We're going to be in Las Vegas. We're going to be in New York City for a week. We're going to be in Arizona. Man, I can't wait to get back to work and do what I do best.
Let me tell you something. You've got the poker face of Teddy KGB is what you've got. You've got, like, when you were in the car ride over here, you kept asking me, like, so we got to fight in New York at the end of the month. You know, what do you think? What day do you think they'll need us out there? You're just sitting there hoping that I say the earliest possible day. That's all you care about. I say the earliest.
You saw my wheels turning as I was asking you. I was already planning my New York trip. Yeah. I was planning all these trips. I want to get my flight scheduled, but yeah.
You just want to know when you're going to get there. Is all you care about. You don't care about the event itself. You care about the city that it's in, when you get there, how long you're allowed to stay. That's pretty much it.
Man, I can't wait to get back to work, man. Let's do it.
I'm sure. All right. Let's start as we always do, Sergio. Winners and losers of the week. Give me your winner of the week.
Dalton Smith. I think the Brit did something sensational coming to the US of A and picking up a world championship as the underdog, knocking out a Puerto Rican champion and a puncher in Subriel Matias in a fight where he had to box, he had to fight, he had to push the bully back. It was an incredible performance and a storybook ending with a knockout against a fighter that's never been knocked out. Dalton Smith, I gotta praise him for how he did it. I gotta praise him for coming over here and doing it. What a win. Dalton Smith, my winner of the week.
Yeah, I was impressed with Dalton Smith. I actually thought he was going to win that fight. I picked him to win. But I picked him to win the same way that Liam Paro beat Subriel Matias. I thought he'd come in with a disciplined game plan, stick and move, try to hit and not get hit as much as he could. And I think that was the game plan coming into the fight. But by like the second or third round, he's like, you know what? This guy wants to brawl. I'm not being hurt by his shots. I'm going to brawl there with him. And he landed some real good combinations, some good body shots, and then that right hand upstairs that stopped the fight. I've heard some stuff, though, Sergio, afterwards. Some former fighters have said that the stoppage was a little quick, that when you have a world champion in a world championship title defense, you've got to give him more than one opportunity. What say you to that?
Yeah, it was a little quick. I mean, I can't hate to that. I mean, he was a champion. He deserves a second chance. He has a puncher's chance, you know, whenever you have someone that has a high knockout ratio. So it was a little quick. I would like to have seen someone like Matias go out and shield. He deserves that. He was the champion. He had the strap. And he didn't get that opportunity because, you know, refereeing was a little tricky this past week in boxing. And I think that might have been a little bit too quick. So I agree with other fighters.
We're going to get into the refereeing for sure a little bit later. My winner of the week, though, is Adjit Kabayel. Adjit Kabayel, who came into this fight in Germany as one of the best heavyweights in boxing. I actually think outside of Alexander Usyk, Kabayel before this fight should have been the best heavyweight not named Usyk. I think he's been on such a run over the last 2 years, beating Makhmudov back when Makhmudov was considered a boogeyman. Beating Frank Sanchez, who was undefeated. Beating Zheli Zhang, who was on a run of his own. Like, Kabayel had established himself as a top-tier guy. He goes to his home of Germany and puts 13,000-plus butts in the seats. Gets a live gate, from what I was told, of over $1 million in an atmosphere that people there described to you and to me as electric. That was such an enormous moment for Kabayel. Great win. Whatever, third round knockout. I thought he was going to do that anyway. But to do it in front of that type of fan support, with that type of live gate, all of a sudden he became in play for every major fight that's out there right now. Usyk, if he wants to do a title defense before the end of the year, he'll go to Germany. Daniel Dubois, if he wants to go take on another top-tier opponent, he'll go to Germany. The most important thing for boxers is to have a fan base, to have people that will support you through thick and thin. He fought a nobody, Sergio, undefeated in Niba, I guess, but a nobody. And he still put that many fans there. Germany has been starved for their next great star. I think they've got one in Caballel.
They got it with Caballel, and the fact that he's always looking for the knockout. Caballel's a pressure fighter. He does nothing special, but he knows how to pick you apart. He knows how to set up that big right hand, and he's going to be exciting to watch. So Germany came out to support him, one, because, yes, they're rabid fans, and they want to support one of their own, but two, he does have the goods, and he has the promotion. And I just talked about, Subriel Matias disappointing people. He did the opposite. He came to a homecoming, and he passed all the tests. He went for the knockout against an undefeated fighter. It just looks good on your record, and it looks good doing it in front of your home base, man. It was an incredible performance by Caballel.
All right, the flip side. Give me your loser of the week.
Well, speaking of promotions, I think Subriel Matias, Puerto Rican promoter, Fresh Promotions, I think they did a terrible, terrible job promoting this fight at the Barclays, an arena where I fought at the Barclays Center. I know how passionate fans can be there. You get a great mix of black, Latino, white fans, hardcore boxing fans right in the middle of Brooklyn. They only sold about 1,500 seats from what I hear. No more than 3,000. There wasn't a lot of people there. It was a dead environment, but it was a great card. We had some good knockouts on the undercard. The main event was sensational. It was an upset. People always like to see that, but no one saw it. No one cared. I mean, we're in the business. We're forced to watch it. We're forced to buy that fight. But other than that, no one cared about it. I think the promotion had to link up with someone that was a bigger promoter that knew how to promote in New York, promote in the East Coast, and they could have made a bigger splash at the Barclays, and they didn't. So Fresh Promotions is my loser of the week.
Well, they kind of did link up with another promoter. I mean, Matchroom was a co-promoter of that show. They had Dalton Smith, but Fresh Promotions was the lead. Now, I don't disagree with you. I was actually shocked at how little outreach there was for this fight.
Outreach is a good word.
Putting my work with DAZN aside, I'm also a member of the national media. We do a podcast. I write stories. I didn't hear from anybody about that fight. And you and I have discussed this ad nauseum. The model of promoting boxing events is broken. You cannot just make a fight, have a traditional fight week, open workout, press conference, weigh-in, and expect people to give a damn. You can't do it. You need to have PR people, marketing people that are reaching out to the media, getting stories in local outlets, getting stuff on the usual YouTube channels, the boxing inner circle like we have, that's fine. But you gotta get outside the bubble a little bit. You've got to have people writing and doing all sorts of different types of media about these particular fights to get people to know that they're happening. Because just because you have a great fight doesn't mean people are going to know about it, doesn't mean people are going to watch it. That is if I was going to make a New Year's resolution for boxing promoters and everybody in boxing, do a better job promoting, boots on the ground, getting stories, getting podcasts, getting video things, getting more so that people can see some of these great fights that are happening.
Yeah, more networking. You got to get out there. Boots on the ground is another good suggestion, because whenever you're promoting a fight, you have to actually talk to the people. You have to go to the city that you're there. Popular restaurants, popular everything. You go out there, you put posters. You got to do it by name. If you don't have the budget to do the commercials and to do the big television spots, then you got to do the other things, the interviews, the podcasts. You actually have to get your boxers on those things as well.
Do you know how boxers? Can I say this? Do you know how boxers should treat, and promoters and boxers should treat their fights? They should treat their fights and their events like actors treat a movie premiere. For example, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon have been out there. If you can't turn on a TV, open up a website without seeing something on Ben Affleck and Matt Damon promoting the Rip on Netflix. Like, I've seen that everywhere. They were on Jimmy Fallon just the other night, reciting every name of every city in Massachusetts. I have some thoughts on that, but I'll leave that alone. You need to have these fighters promoting multiple times per week. Promoters need to be out there doing interviews multiple times per week. You've got to flood the market in the same way that actors and actresses flood the market.
Contractually, boxers are expected to do that. When we sign a contract for a big fight, especially if it's a pay-per-view fight or a big fight where people are watching and you're fighting a big name, in your contract it says, every boxer knows this if they read their contracts, you are obligated to promote the show. And it says to do appearances, weigh-in, promotions, radio, TV. It's on that contract specifically. I'm pretty sure Subriel Matias and Dalton Smith had it in their contract, in their Fresh Productions. None of that was there because we didn't see it. I didn't hear him on no podcast. I didn't see him on no television shows, no television spots. They could have done Spanish, even Spanish TV. I mean, Subriel Matias is Puerto Rican in a heavily populated area of Puerto Ricans in New York. Why not do something in Spanish? They did not do that because that promotion failed and it showed. It was just not a good event, but it was there were great fights in there. There were really good fights that could have been better.
If I was going to give one piece of advice to a young up-and-coming star, let's use Moses Atauma, for example. Hire your own publicist. Hire an individual publicist and have that publicist out there trying to get you the interviews and the FaceTime that's going to help you, because the more eyeballs that are watching you, the more money that's going into your pocket. You've got to make that connection. Guys, I see guys on Twitter all the time be like, I made $1 million for this. Well, you could have made $2 million if more people knew who you were. That's what I would do if I was a young fighter coming up the ranks and I could afford to get a publicist. I would hire somebody and tell that publicist to get my name out there. My loser of the week, and I'm probably going to say his name wrong, but I don't really care because I'm not thrilled with him. Timo Habegorst. Know that name? Timo Habegorst. He was the referee in the co-main event of Kabayel Niba. This was a fight between Peter Milas and Granit Xhalla. Ends in a 10th round stoppage for Peter Milas. This fight in that 10th round went completely off the rails. Early in the 10th, Milas dropped Xhalla, hurt him pretty bad, knocked down, all that. Xhalla gets up. Milas noticed that Xhalla was in some trouble there, actually motioned to the referee to stop the fight. The referee does not do that. Milas goes on, knocks him down, stops him again. The referee wasn't, at the very end, the referee wasn't immediately inclined to stop the fight, even though the corner for Xhalla threw in the towel in that moment. Look, I understand that a referee's job is a difficult one. We just talked about the referee in the Matias Smith fight, how you got to know where the line is. It's a very difficult line to find. But it was clear in the 10th round of that fight that this guy, that Xhalla, was not coming back to win this fight. The only reason to let this fight continue was for this guy to take more of a beating. This referee put him in danger, and I hope everybody involved, the German Boxing Federation, everyone that is influential in fights, this guy needs to be checked out.
What's his name again?
Timo Habegorst.
Timo Nomo. I mean, this guy was terrible. And yes, I know what you're talking about because I was going back and forth in a text chain with you, and it was incredible because every sign was there that you're going to get one of these fighters hurt. The guy went down. He got back up. He wasn't throwing punches. He was going backwards. His opponent was pointing at him, stop the fight. I'm going to kill this guy. He goes down again. They refuse to stop the fight. The white towel comes in. This referee had it in for the loser of this fight because he wanted someone to be...
Wasn't the reverse? Could the reverse be true? Like, was he trying to, like... It was actually a competitive fight.
Something was up. But yeah, but whenever one guy's done, when the fight is beat out of him, which it clearly was beat out of him.
It seemed like to me, though, like he was trying to get him to the finish line.
He was trying to get him to the finish line, but you're going to get opponents hurt that way.
I agree.
It reminded me of when Roy Jones Jr. fought Vinny Pazenzia. Pazenzia had his issues outside the ring with the car accident coming off the broken neck. And then he fights one of the best fighters of our generation. Roy Jones is beating the hell out of him. Pillar to post. The referee won't stop the fight. Roy Jones points at the referee and points at Vinny like, I'm going to kill this guy. The referee says, go ahead and kill him. Roy goes out there and murders and practically puts him down. That's how fighters get permanently hurt. That's what this Timo character, that I hope I never hear this terrible name again at refereeing, because he could have got someone seriously hurt, especially with these heavyweights that can knock your block off with one big punch.
Not good. And we've seen fighters try to get fight stop in the past. I remember Lomachenko against Richard Comey. Even Ryan Garcia against Devin Haney. Remember when he knocked him down? He was motioning to the corner to get them to stop the fight. Sometimes fighters know, like they know when, I mean, oftentimes I would say fighters know. They know when their opponent is badly hurt. And they know that if you let this fight continue, a beating is going to ensue. The kind of beating that maybe guys don't come back from. That's where it gets really dangerous. That's where the referee needs to do their job. And this referee did not do his job. All right, let's talk about the biggest non-fight story in boxing this week, and that is the ongoing saga with Vergil Ortiz and Boots Ennis, because we had another discouraging update in the talks for Boots against Ortiz. Oscar De La Hoya telling BoxingScene.com that he was moving on from the fight after not hearing from Ortiz's promoter, Eddie Hearn, this week. However, that was disputed by Ortiz's manager, Rick Meridian, who said Ortiz was not moving on, that he does want the fight, and if DAZN or Matchroom want to make it happen, they should call him. So I want to go first here. I want to lay this out because I've spent the last few days talking to people that are involved in these discussions. Here is what is going on. This is not a Boots Ortiz problem. It is not a Golden Boy Matchroom problem. This is a Vergil Ortiz Golden Boy problem. And to understand why, you have to go back to last year. Last year, there was an offer for Boots versus Ortiz. This was backed by Riyadh Season. There was an offer to make this fight. Both these guys were going to make right around $6.5 million for this fight. It was going to take place in Riyadh. And Boots, if you remember, declined. He wanted one fight at 154 before he took on Vergil. So that fight evaporated. Fast forward to now, and the Saudis are not involved in this show. Not yet, at least. We'll get to why a little bit later. The guaranteed money that was there a year ago isn't there right now. From what I'm hearing, the guarantees for both are a little more than half of what they were guaranteed the last time around. That means for Boots and Vergil, somewhere between $3.5 and $4 million all in. Boots has agreed to this. We know this. I mean, every time Eddie Hearn opens his mouth to talk about Boots Ennis, he's saying, we have signed to fight this fight. Boots Ennis is all in. Vergil's side has not. Vergil's side wants the $6.5 million. Vergil's side wants the cash that they were promised last year. Vergil's side wants the Saudis back at the table. They want Sella back at the table. They want Turki Al-Sheikh back at the table. They're transparent about it. They're saying it to reporters. They're saying it on social media. They want these guys back at the table. But from what I'm told, the Saudis, for now, are not interested in this fight. Now, this is where it becomes a Golden Boy versus Vergil problem. Because among the reasons that Sella, which is the Saudi promoter, is not interested is partly because Oscar De La Hoya has a bit of a tense relationship with Turki Al-Sheikh. He has said some things about Turkey's fights. Now, he's done some positive things, but he's brought Vergil to Saudi Arabia. They did a Latino night, whole bunch of different things. Obviously, the Ryan Garcia-Mario Barrios fight, that is promoted by Sella. That is a ring card as well. But it's not like the relationship that Sella and Turkey have with Matchroom or with TKO or even with Top Rank or with Queensberry. It's not. And there's a feeling on Vergil's side that this friction is what is costing them money. Now, I don't think this fight is dead, but it's probably, Sergio, days, at most a couple of weeks away from being dead. Here is what it's going to come down to. Boots has accepted his side of the deal. He's fine with the $3.5, $4 million, whatever the final number may be for this fight, probably with some upside if the fight takes off. I'm sure that's there. Vergil has what is basically the same offer, which, if we're being honest, is not that much more than his minimums with Golden Boy. His minimums with Golden Boy are about, I don't know, 2.5 maybe, I've heard, $1 million. And this one, maybe $1.5 million more than what his minimum is. if you're Vergil Ortiz, this is how I'll frame the question to you. If you're Vergil Ortiz and that's the money, $3.5, $4 million, maybe with some upside, if this fight does a big number on pay-per-view, do you take this fight?
Yes. If I'm Vergil Ortiz, I'm at the cusp of being a star, the next star, a much-needed star in those big weekends, the Mexican holiday weekends, the Cinco de Mayo and Mexican Independence Day in September. Those slots need to be filled. Today, I was just talking to one of my friends. He's a Caesar's Palace employee, Steve Shakirian, and he was telling me that Vegas needs a young star. They need that young money. They need that new influx of Latino boxing fans and everybody coming on those dates to spend money, to gamble, to drink, to do it like they used to do it. When Chavez fought in Vegas, Oscar de la Hoya fought in Vegas, when Canelo fought in Vegas, even when Floyd Mayweather Jr., who's not Mexican, but dominated those dates. Vergil Ortiz is the next in line. He's the next in line to take that. But right now, money's getting in the way because I'm not going to blame his manager. I'm not going to blame his promoter. I'm going to blame the state of the game right now. The fact that so much money, this influx of money of Saudi, they spoiled these fighters. That money has spoiled everybody, and it's really exceeded the expectations of what a promotion is meant to be, or what a fighter is meant to deserve. $3 million sounds like a lot of money for a fighter like Vergil Ortiz fighting an unpopular fighter in Boots Ennis. Champion, yes.
You keep calling him unpopular. He did a huge number in Philadelphia, his first time there.
In Philadelphia, but he needs a dance partner if he goes outside of Philadelphia.
Everybody needs a dance partner.
Nah, not necessarily. You know, if you're the big name, if you're the knockout artist, I think Boots is incredible promotion in the East Coast. I just don't see him doing that in the West Coast unless he fights a West Coast fighter. Vergil Ortiz is from Texas, but he has Mexican roots. West Coast is going to support him. That's an incredible fight that belongs in Las Vegas, but they got spoiled. And Meridian,
I'll let you finish there. We're getting off track here a little bit. So what you're saying, if it was you, $3.5, $4 million plus some potential upside, even though I wouldn't count on the upside. I know you have this pie in the sky theory that this is going to do a big number on pay-per-view. It's not. And it's not to say it's not a great fight. It's just that pay-per-view is a hard sell. I think it's right around 200,000 pay-per-view buys if that is the case. But you would take this fight if you were Vergil.
If I'm Vergil Ortiz, if I'm a knockout artist, if I have the better resume, I've already beaten world champions like Madrimov. I've already beaten tough guys like Boachuk. I've already beaten guys that are legitimate champions. So why not face a guy like Boots who's moving up in weight and hasn't really proved himself? At least the resume has improved at 154. Vergil Ortiz is a huge...
Resume is pretty damn good at 147. At least it's better than Vergil's at 147.
Yeah, but we're talking about junior middleweight now, Mannix. That's the weight division that I want a world title. I look at a fighter like Vergil. He looks like a legitimate super welterweight. He looks like a big 154. I look at Boots. Boots looked great. He looked great at 154, but he looked huge at 147. He looked really good at 154, but not Vergil Ortiz big, not that muscular, not that size, especially after you rehydrate. I think this comes down to money, and the managers and the promoters, they want to make the most amount of money. They're butting heads behind the scenes, but this is when the fighters need to talk for themselves, man. This is when they actually have to agree that this is for more than money. It's legacy. It's for greatness. It's for who's next in line to take over the throne of Canelo, of all the greats, of Oscar, and all the other A-sides that have populated that month, those popular months that make a lot of money. Vergil Ortiz, I would think, would want to do it, but I think his manager and his promoter their pride's in the way. One of them needs to swallow their pride for the greatness of the sport and for the greatness of their own fighter. That's Vergil, who's at the cusp of being the next star. Let him do what he needs to do to become that star, if he can get past Boots. Because Boots has already said yes. Matchroom already said yes. So the holdup here is just money and trying to get the most bang for your buck instead of looking out for your client.
I think they have to accept the reality that most likely the Saudis are not coming to the table to save the day for this fight. Mm-hmm. And with that comes the reality that the money is a little bit less. Now, I know Ortiz's side is looking around going, hey, Devin Haney made a pile of money fighting over in Riyadh. Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez are making a pile of money to fight each other. We should be making a pile of money. I don't disagree with that. This is the best fight in U.S. boxing. But if the Saudis are not involved, this is what the money is. This is what the pot is. You're getting your money based on a license fee. You're getting it off ticket revenue in Vegas, which could be substantial. And you're probably doing something with a pay-per-view upside if the fight suddenly takes off. They've got to accept the economic realities of this fight. And if you're Vergil Ortiz, if you don't take this fight, I'm not exactly sure where you turn in the next 6 months.
That's another thing.
If you're Boots Ennis, there's a plan at Matchroom. Boots, if this fight doesn't happen, he is going to fight the winner of Josh Kelly versus your boy Bakram. That's going to happen probably April or May of 2026. That will be for a world title at 154. It wouldn't surprise me one bit to see Matchroom, which has done good business with Top Rank over the last year or so, over recent years, which is doing the Navarrete-Nunez fight, doing a deal with Top Rank to do Boots against Xander Zayas in a title unification fight if Zayas beats Abbas Baru on January 31st. So Boots, even though this isn't the fight we're looking for, he's got a schedule for the rest of this year. I don't know what Ortiz does. Oscar's out there saying Sebastian Fundora. Hello, newsflash. Fundora is fighting Keith Thurman on March 21st. I was told explicitly that fight was happening. He's talking about Errol Spence. Errol Spence, Cancun, well, I don't know, he's somewhere. He's on vacation somewhere right now. Doesn't look like a guy that's getting ready to fight anytime soon. And even if he was, why would Errol Spence come back after a 3-year layoff at a new weight and fight Vergil Ortiz? That's crazy. I don't know where he goes. I think this could wind up being a situation where if they can't come to an agreement, Boots Ennis' career continues over the next 6 to 8 months. Vergil's career stalls, at least when it comes to big fights.
Well said. I think the only thing that makes sense right here is for these guys to swallow their pride, take the money and run, because they had the opportunity. They wanted that $6 million. They had it. They had it right there on paper.
Well, Vergil's side will say correctly that they accepted it, that they said we want it. Boots didn't want it, so the fight disappeared. Now that same offer is not back on the table.
Okay, and it's not going to be there on the table because yesterday's offer is not the same deal right now. And the fact that, speculation is that we're headed.
I love when you say speculation is. You're basically meaning what I read on Twitter this morning.
We're headed towards a recession. We're headed towards, everyone not making the most money.
Everyone's CNBC. What
everyone's
are you doing?
Portfolio is going in the opposite direction.
Not yours, day trader.
That's right. Shout out Google. But no, listen, man, the money is not there. And if the Saudis not on board, and it's a good power move by Turkey, by saying, listen, I offered them, they didn't get it. I didn't get the fight when I wanted, how I wanted it. And in Saudi now, they're going to have to fight in Vegas, a non-Riyadh season card, but they're not going to get the money that I offered, the Saudis offered. Now, good luck. I hope you have a successful night in Vegas. But now it turns out that fight is in jeopardy because these two were expecting Saudi money and they're not getting it.
You touched on this, and we've danced around this a little bit over the first part of the show. But as positive an impact as Turki Al-Sheikh has made on this sport, and you can't deny it. We got Bivol Beterbiev twice. We got Fury Usyk twice. We get mega events month after month. It is a positive effect on a sport that badly needed big fights to be made. It has spoiled a lot of these fighters. You are no longer entitled to what you're worth. You are no longer entitled to what you do at the gate and what you do on pay-per-view. Now you're getting guaranteed dollars, and it doesn't matter if the fight tanks at the gate. It doesn't matter if the fight tanks at the box office. And look, this is like Vergil. The biggest win of his career, I think you and I would agree, Madrimov, biggest win, no question, happened over in Riyadh. Didn't get the kind of attention it would have gotten if it had happened in Texas.
Biggest fight and biggest payday for Vergil.
100%. So good for him for taking that. But the consequences of that is that you do a big fight outside of the U.S. and away from U.S. eyeballs. And that costs you something when you're trying to do an event like this where you're not having the backing of Sella and Saudi Arabia.
On a smaller scale, I always try to put myself in fighters' shoes and compare my career to these careers on a smaller scale. When I signed on for the Contender, they gave us these minimums after winning the show. These minimums were incredible. I was fighting 6 to 8 round fights where I normally get, $5,000, $10,000. I was getting paid six figures to fight 6 to 8 round fights. You get spoiled. Once I won the Contender, I expected every fight to be 6, 7 figures, but that's not the case because that's not what the market is paying. Mm-hmm. The market is paying a lot less. So whenever you're a fighter and you're going to Saudi and you're getting the highest of the highest payday, and then you come back to reality, that market's not the same as it is in Saudi. And you need to understand that, and you need to readjust your expectations if you're a fighter, and if you're Rick Meridian, the fighter's manager, and if you're the promoter like Oscar De La Hoya. They're going to make this fight happen. I still have hope, Mannix. I still have hope that this fight happens. I don't know if it's foolish, but where else are they going to go? It's going to be the unemployment line. It's going to be the inactivity line.
It's not for Boots, though.
I said. No, this is Vergil, this is Meridian, and this is Oscar De La Hoya. It's going to be them three that are going to make this fight go elsewhere. And if that happens, it's going to be a tragedy. It's going to be something that all boxing fans are going to just have a bad taste in their mouth and regret, because what if one of these guys loses for being inactive?
Or moves up in weight. Like, we've seen Vergil talk about going to 160.
Or slip on a banana peel and break their ankle. Whatever happens, this fight, if it does not happen in the spring of this year, in the next coming months, and we get a mega promotion, multi-city promotion, and this doesn't become the next big fight for boxing and boxing fans, I just have to blame everyone that I just mentioned, because it's their fault for not bringing this to the table and bringing it to the fans.
Look, I think this fight deserves a huge promotion. It deserves a press conference in Philly. It deserves a press conference in Dallas. It deserves a press conference in Vegas. It deserves all the mainstream attention that it can get. The longer we wait, the less likely the fight is. Even if the fight's made, maybe you don't have time to do that press conference. People need to get their act together, because we are literally days away from this fight being dead. I'm telling you, days away from this fight being dead.
I still have hope.
All right. Well, I admire your optimism there. You are rarely the optimistic one of this.
No. I just, because I know what these negotiations are, and I know they wait to the last minute to get every last dollar to really put the leverage. They don't want to give up leverage. It's all about the number. I'm going to stick to it, and they start fluctuating their number. They just want to get the fight done. You can bet Rick Meridian and Oscar, they're sticking to their guns, but Vergil's going to have to come to the table and says, man, I'll just take less. I don't care. I'm going to do my thing inside the ring. It's going to come down to one of those voices or all three. I think this fight happens.
If only you did that against Jermaine Taylor.
I wish I would see it. I'm glad you brought that up. In retrospect, I wish I would have done that instead of holding off for another, $150,000 that I was asking Lou DiBella for. And I regret it. I regret it.
DiBella's told me this story a million times, not to get off track here, but he said he got on the phone with you and yelled at you and said there's no more money left.
And I didn't believe him. And this is what's happening here in this Mexican standoff with De La Hoya and Vergil and Meridian. There's a Mexican standoff going off here of like, no, I want you to find me more money, but sometimes there's no more money.
We got to get DiBella on one of these podcasts talking about just that moment when he called you and starts screaming at you to take
the fight. We got to lower his mic volume if we have him on.
I know. All right, well, rumors have swirled for weeks about a Ryan Garcia, Mario Barrios 147-pound title fight. Well, this week, Golden Boy made it official, formally announcing the fight. February 21st in your favorite city, Sergio, Las Vegas. Ryan's second chance at a world title against Barrios, who has kept his belt in back-to-back draws, most recently against Manny Pacquiao. Sergio, Ryan is 27 years old. He is 1-2 in his last 3 fights with a no contest mixed in. He is coming off a disappointing performance against Rolly Romero. Is this a must-win fight for Ryan Garcia?
It's been must-win for Ryan Garcia. And, I don't know if you remember, I always told you that Ryan Garcia, I don't see him winning a world title. Well, it's given right here on a silver platter against a fighter that's coming out back-to-back draws. This is it for Ryan Garcia. He can't look back. That's it. If he wants to become a world champion, pick up a strap and finally go down in history as not just a celebrity, not just a handsome face with the hooks and the looks and a massive Instagram following. If he wants to prove to everybody that he's legit and he's a champion forever, he has to take this fight and he has to beat a fighter like Mario Barrios, who has proven to be just below that championship level. I mean, you got to give it to him. His resume is incredible. He fought with Tank, got knocked down the championship rounds, the 11th round. Manny Pacquiao got a draw. Keith Thurman came up short. He has he's fighting all the big names and a legend in Manny Pacquiao. So Mario Barrios, he exceeded expectations. We sucked out every inch of talent on Mario Barrios, and he's still here. Successful career for him. Ryan Garcia, you can't say that. It's up and down. It's up and down, but whenever he has the moment to be a real star inside that ring, he comes up short. Got knocked out by Tank, and he got upset by Rolly Romero. What are you going to do now, man? So it's must win for Ryan Garcia as a professional fighter, and for anyone that wants to question Ryan Garcia as a champion, here it is. You can shut him up.
I agree with you. I don't know where Ryan Garcia would go if he lost to Mario Barrios, because he would have lost at the championship level against the two fighters who are largely considered the weakest of the champions at 147 pounds. So off back-to-back losses, off the situation with Devin Haney, I don't know where you go. Like, you can't go back down in weight because he's made it clear he's not able to hit 140 pounds. You don't go up in weight because if he's not able to damage Rolly Romero and Mario Barrios, he's certainly not going to be able to damage Boots Ennis and Vergil Ortiz and some of those other guys out there. This is a huge fight. This is the career of Ryan Garcia, at least at a high level, that's on the line in this fight. It's got some interesting subplots to it, Sergio. Joe Goosen, the former trainer of Ryan Garcia, he is working the corner of Mario Barrios. Do you think that makes a difference for Mario Barrios on fight night?
No, it won't make a difference for Barrios, but it'll make a difference for the promotion and selling the fight and Ryan Garcia going against Goosen. So it gives it a good spice to the promotion. But as far as Barrios, it doesn't matter. He is who he is. He's not going to change. He's not going to get any better. He's a B-plus fighter that has beaten some good fighters, but hasn't beaten great fighters. And Ryan Garcia is just another good fighter in front of him, and it's must win for both of them. It really is, man. I mean, and for it, the fact that it's a world championship fight in the City of Lights in Las Vegas, the script is there. Ryan Garcia, this is his last hurrah, his last chance to really prove that his career wasn't just all social media, that he actually had the goods to become a champion, and this can prove it.
So the other subplot to this is that Ryan Garcia also has a new trainer.
Again.
Formerly moving on from Derek James and going back to where it all began, working with his father, Henry Garcia, as his head trainer for this fight. Look, Henry Garcia is not a nobody here. He trained Ryan early in his career. He handed Ryan off to Eddie Reynoso, stayed on board, was in the corner for every one of his fights, has been part of his training team for the entirety of his career. But I thought this was interesting, Sergio, to go back to his roots, to go back to his father for the biggest fight of his career. What do you think of that?
I can tell you what I really think, and I am, because I'm not going to be a company man this time around. I think Ryan Garcia knows this is his last chance, and he wants to keep the money in the family. He probably knows. No, I'm serious. He probably knows that this is a make or break moment, and chances are that he probably won't be a major favorite, that there's a possibility that he could lose this fight, and he wants to keep that percentage that he normally gives to a trainer or another stranger or someone that comes to his corner. He'd rather give it to someone that's been his day one in his corner as an amateur, but's never really panned out as a pro, and that's Garcia, the senior, his father. So just keeping it in the family, knowing that this might be their last big payday.
I thought it was interesting. You've advocated for going back to Eddie Reynoso. I wondered if you would go that route. Derek James has been his trainer for recent fights. Joe Goosen's been his trainer for recent fights. None of those guys have really clicked with Ryan Garcia. Reynoso did. 5-0, 5 knockouts. I get it with that one. I just hope that this is a camp that is done properly and that this is a fight taken seriously. Look, Barrios is not a great fighter, but he's been at 147 for some time now. I think he's going to be as tall or taller than Ryan Garcia.
He's going to be the
5'10",
same height.
5'11", they're right
there.
there.
Both of them are really, really tall.
And Ryan Garcia has proven to be better against the smaller fighters. Look at some of his highlight reel knockouts, the Fonseca fight, Javier Fortuna, that fight, Luke Campbell, that fight. These have been against largely shorter opponents. Luke Campbell, I think, was shorter, but not by a ton. He's going to be eye level with Mario Barrios, a guy that's taken punches, to your point, from Pacquiao, from Thurman, from Gervonta Davis for a while. It took Gervonta, the 11th round to knock him out in that fight.
Competitive fight.
He's got to bring his fastball for this fight, Sergio. The guy that fought against Rolly Romero gets beat by Mario Barrios. He's got to be a better version than he was that night.
If Ryan Garcia doesn't implement a jab, if he doesn't practice different type of jabs and foot feints, he's going to have to pick those concrete feet up, because Barrios, like I said, is a solid B-plus fighter that's been in there with a legend in Manny Pacquiao. An older legend, but still a legend. So Ryan Garcia is going to have to trick him into that left hook. Barrios is not going to fall for it right off the bat. You know, he's going to be one of these fighters that doesn't have the power of Tank, but he does have the IQ. He does have the traps. He could set traps for a fighter like Ryan Garcia, especially since Barrios, you know, he's coming out back-to-back draws, but they're not losses. So, you know, there's some kind of momentum there. It's the flip side for Garcia. He's coming off a draw and a loss. So the momentum's on Barrios' side. I think it's make or break for both of them, especially Ryan Garcia.
All right. Speaking of changes in trainer, Brian Norman Jr. is going to go into 2026 with a new voice in his corner. Norman Jr. telling Cigar Talk that he had left his father as his head trainer and was on the lookout for a new one. I've been told they've been kicking around some names in the camp. Nobody wanted to talk about just yet, but I have been told they're, quote, the usual suspects that you know about as far as Norman's next trainer. What do you think of Brian Norman Jr. dumping his dad after his first professional loss?
Well, I mean, we've been podcasting and talking for years now, and I told you about the father-son boxer-trainer relationship always ending in disaster, because the father, senior in this point, will never let junior, even as a 25, 28, 30-year-old man, become his own man. You're always going to be in the shadow of your father. And when it comes to that relationship, it's bound to break. That chemistry is bound to turn against you. And with one loss, at 25 years old, Norman Jr. is dumping his dad. That just goes to show you that it doesn't work in boxing. And the only time it works is when it's working, when you're winning, when you're knocking out fighters. But how are you going to dump a man that you've been in as an amateur all the way to a world championship? This man, your father, got you to a world title. What are you complaining about? You came up short.
So wait. What are you arguing here, though? Like, are you arguing?
I'm about to tell you.
Let's get there.
All right. I don't think he should have left him. I just think you weren't going to beat Devin Haney. Devin Haney's a better boxer than you. I think you need to work on fundamentals. You need to work on boxing. Who should he bring into his corner? Someone from down south. I mean, he's from Georgia. I love Derek James, Texas. Someone that fights with someone that used to be a fighter, is now a trainer, knows how to mold boxer punchers like Errol Spence, like Charlo, and others. I think that's a nice fit for someone that's, you know, relatable in that area down south.
Look, only Norman knows the inner workings of that relationship. But you make the point that Brian Norman Sr. has guided his son to a lot of success. He guided him to that interim title win against Giovanni Santillán. That was a fight that Norman was the underdog in that fight. Remember, that fight was a showcase fight for Giovanni Santillán. He had just beaten Alexis Rocha, and this was his chance to get an interim version of the world title, and Brian Norman Jr. beat him down. Then he goes over to Japan a couple fights later and gets the knockout of 2025. That was the best knockout of the year in my book. In a lot of books, puts down Jin Sasaki with a spectacular fifth-round knockout. Now, Norman Sr. did not have a good night against Devin Haney. Didn't have a good night. I think Norman Sr. went into there thinking that Brian was going to knock Devin Haney's head off. I think he didn't believe Devin Haney could punch. I don't think he believed that Devin had the chin for it. And I think they went in a little bit too arrogant. But you know who also went into a fight pretty arrogant, Sergio, about a year or two ago? Bill Haney. Bill Haney went into the Ryan Garcia fight incredibly arrogant. Bill Haney allowed Ryan Garcia to blow up in weight, miss the weight, didn't ask for a rehydration clause, just took a couple of bucks, and then went out there and watched his son get clipped by the one punch that he was supposed to look out for in the first round. Devin Haney did not fire his dad. Devin Haney kept his dad, and Bill Haney was the one navigating Devin Haney to that win over Brian Norman Jr. So with the caveat that I don't know all the inner workings there. And it sounds like Brian Norman Jr. is a good guy. He's got a great management team around him. He's got a great promoter around him. They know what they're doing. But I do find it interesting. At the first speed bump, at the first loss, gone.
And you know why I think Devin Haney didn't fire Bill Haney? Because Bill Haney didn't name him after himself. He's not a junior. I just have this thing about a man naming another boy junior. Like, you want him to be you, or you want him to be his old man. You know, so I just think that's what happened with Brian Norman Jr., and it's not the way to go. He just needs to develop his skills, get back to fundamentals, get back to, you have the power, but work on your footwork, work on your defense, work on other things. We know that you were God blessed and with major power. That wasn't enough now against a non-power puncher in Devin Haney. That should show you right there that a high fight IQ, a jab, technique, and footwork is going to get you a lot farther than power. Power will get you a long way, but skills is going to get you a lot farther.
So you like Derek James?
I like Derek James for a change because it's the same style that Derek James teaches, nice jab, but he works about slowing things down, a technique, elbows in, body punching, a lot of body punching, and then
footwork though is something I think Norman needs work on.
It's not to be fast feet because James is not a good
But would you agree? I think Norman's footwork is among his weaknesses.
That's a big weakness because when you're a puncher, you have heavy feet, and I think Derek James is accustomed to that. He doesn't really. I mean, Charlo wasn't really a mover, but he can move if he wants to. Errol Spencer was flat-footed, but he loved digging to the body. It's a good mix for Brian Norman, who's very athletic as a puncher.
How about your trainer?
My trainer's too much footwork. My trainer's too much footwork and not enough punches because he's never had a real power puncher to train.
Yeah, he did.
Your wife wasn't one of them.
She's a power puncher.
No, she was not.
What are you talking about? Better knock
no,
her
she
ratio
was
than
not.
you.
I hope she'll slap the hell out of you, though.
All right, let's talk about the fight that we're going to call on Friday night because I am ready for this one, Sergio. I am ready. The second this fight was announced, I was ready to get up to Palm Desert to call this fight. Alexis Rocha versus Raul Curiel, Part 2. You and I were both there, Ontario, end of 2024. Rocha Curiel fought for the first time, both contenders at 147, and it turned out to be one of the best fights of the year. Now here they are, 13 months later, ready to do it again. I see no reason to believe that this fight won't be just as good. Both these guys still in their prime. Both these guys still hungry. Who do you like going into this rematch?
These guys are meant for each other. They're stylistically exactly the same. And even if Curiel starts off faster, we know that he's a late starter. Even if he starts off faster, Rocha will be the opposite. He'll slow down and wait for the later rounds. I'm going to give it to Curiel this time around. I think the way that he finished this fight, and they're going to go into the rematch, Curiel's going to actually start round 13. I think he's going to realize that Rocha can't hurt him. I think in that fight that they had, Curiel was able to rock Rocha. Rocha was never able to rock Raul Curiel.
I don't know that Curiel rocked Rocha.
I think he did.
Okay.
And I watched that fight last night and early this morning.
I watched it a couple
and
times.
then you said, and one time you said that Curiel got rocked, and I'm like, I didn't see it, and I still didn't see it. I'm telling you right now, man, both of them are evenly matched, but it's going to come down to who can follow a damn game plan. If Rocha was to box, and here's another, let me start here. Rocha needs to box. He needs to forget trying to land the big punches. He needs to dig to the body, back up, jab, and earn a decision. If Rocha doesn't go in there thinking that this is going to go 12 rounds to the distance and be comfortable with the decision, he's going to get upset. He's going to lose this fight, and he might even get stopped. Because the thing about Rocha is he has the ability to box, but the kid rather fight. And he has a voice in his corner in Hector Lopez that always wants him to come forward. Go forward, Mio. Go forward. How about you back up and box for once? How about you really stick to the damn game plan and pile up round after round after round? And then finally, when you get to the later rounds and you have your conditioning, then you can go forward and try to attack a man that's never been knocked out. Follow a damn game plan. Bring a strategy all the way to the end. Have the chemistry with your trainer where he doesn't have to yell at you and force you to go forward in a fight that you're winning. In a fight that you're boxing nicely. The first half was all Alexis Rocha. Why the hell did he have to go forward and get aggressive and run into shots? I didn't get it, but it gave Curiel an opportunity to get a draw. I think this time around, Curiel finishes what he started.
I agree with the boxing sentiment with Rocha. He was doing really well the first 5 rounds of that fight. He had an interesting strategy too. Like he was going into the power hand of Curiel because they wanted to throw that straight left hand of theirs. So it made some sense. It was successful early on. But then you're right, the middle rounds, they stepped forward. They tried to bang it out. And that's where Curiel start to find some success there. So I'll be curious to see if Rocha can be the more pure boxer for 12 rounds. If he can, I think he does have the skill set to outbox Raul Curiel. The one variable for Curiel, though, he's got a new trainer. He's got Robert Garcia, who just so happened, Sergio, to train Giovanni Santillán for the win against Rocha a few years ago. Do you think that's a variable in all this?
Oh,
What do you
absolutely.
think? What do you think that Robert Garcia is going to be telling Raul Curiel in this fight?
Look, he went from Freddie Roach, one of the greatest trainers, to Robert Garcia, who I think is a great trainer as well. And the fact that they're going to have the sparring with Giovanni Santillán, they're going to have all the great sparring that they have at Robert Garcia Academy. This is just another wrench being thrown in Alexis Rocha's. It's not going to look good, man. It's all the momentum's towards Korea, and that's why I'm favoring him this time around, because the game plan is going to be there. Curiel's a puncher, but he can box. And I think he just listens to his corner a lot more. He has more confidence in the voice in his corner. And whenever you have Robert Garcia, you're going to have the work ethic and you're going to have the belief that whatever that voice is telling you in that 1 minute break, I'm going to follow with full faith. I can't say the same for Rocha and his corner and the voice in his corner. Every time they tell him instructions, it seems like they're arguing, and Rocha seems to do whatever he feels is going to work. And ultimately, it either backfires or he doesn't get the stoppage or look great.
Two things that Curiel has to do, I think, in this fight. One is to keep it at kind of a mid-range. He gets good power in the end of his punches. Like, he has great extension. He's got some pop there. He can hurt you from that mid-range. If the fight does become an inside fight, he's got to win the battle of the short shots. I thought in the first fight, one of the positives for Rocha was that he won that battle. Like, his short shots were better than Curiel's short shots. I think he's got to do better in that regard. If he does,
And move his head.
Yeah, and move his head too. I think both those guys need to move their head a little bit more.
See, the thing about Curiel, he won't hit you with the first two shots. It's the 3 and 4 and 5 shots that he actually was hitting Rocha with, because Rocha would always pull back. So head movement, jab, body shots, and move them feet. And I think Rocha probably has the better talent. But Curiel, just over time, the hard work, the conditioning, the consistency, that would overcome the talent.
All right, prediction?
Curiel decision.
I'm going Rocha decision.
There you go.
I think it's
that's why I
competitive.
can't wait for Friday.
Hey, you know, it was funny. Right after the first fight, Curiel walked up to Rocha and he said, "We can be like Pacquiao and Marquez." Remember that first fight between Pacquiao and Marquez was a draw. Next 3 were outstanding, punctuated by that Marquez knockout in part 4. I would love to see this become a great rivalry between two Southern California fighters.
They have the right style to do it. I hope it happens, because the rematch is going to tell a lot of stories. So yeah, man, I'm excited.